A simple woman was kicked out of pilot camp. Then she landed an F-22 on their turf. She was standing outside the gate, her hands still shaking from the way they threw her out. "You don't belong here," one of them had said. Another laughed. "Go back to wherever you came from, sweetheart. This ain't Top Gun." Her name wasn't on any of the banners. No one knew her background and no one cared. They just saw an older woman with no uniform and assumed she was nothing. No badge, no rank showing. Just a calm face and quiet eyes that didn't flinch when they slammed the camp gate shut behind her. But what they didn't know was who she really was. 3 days earlier, she had walked into the camp with her small duffel bag and a folded piece of paper. No bragging, no story, just a request to sit in on a few training sessions. She didn't ask for a seat in the cockpit. She just watched, silent, focused. And that bothered them, especially Karen. Karen wasn't military. She was the self-appointed head of the Pilot Support Committee, a fancy name she printed herself on a shiny gold badge. She didn't fly, but she sure flew off the handle whenever she saw someone she didn't approve of. "I run this place," Karen barked when she spotted the woman sitting near the hangars. "You're not registered, and you don't have clearance. Who let you in?" No one had. The woman just walked in, like she belonged. "You think this is a field trip? You can't just sit near military aircraft, ma'am," Karen sneered, dragging the last word out like an insult. "You're lucky I don't have you arrested." The woman didn't say a word. She just stood up, dusted off her jeans, and walked out the same way she came in. That was supposed to be the end of it. But the next day, every single pilot was grounded. Engine systems offline, F-22s locked. Some kind of command override. Panic hit the camp like a storm. No one knew what was going on, until one of the security officers screamed, pointing at the sky. There it was, an F-22, fully airborne, gliding like it was dancing above the desert, and inside, that same woman, no flight suit, just her denim jacket and a cold expression behind the glass. "Who the hell is that?" someone shouted. Karen looked like she'd seen a ghost. The voice came over the camp's loudspeaker, calm and clean. "You said I didn't belong here. Maybe it's time. You found out who really does." And just like that, she cut the engine mid-air and nosedived straight toward the base. Everything froze. The only sound was Karen's voice trembling. "She's gonna crash, someone stop her." But the woman wasn't crashing. At the last second, she pulled the F-22 up, flipped it, and landed clean. No skid, no struggle, like she'd done it 100 times before. The base was silent. No one moved. She popped the hatch and climbed down slowly. Still no words. Just a small card she dropped on the table near the tower. They picked it up with shaking hands. "Illy, Commander Evelyn Ross, former F-22 test pilot, classified program Echo 7, authorization. Above clearance level, 9." Karen went pale. Someone whispered, "She helped design the damn jets." And Evelyn just looked at her, finally speaking, soft but cutting. "You said I couldn't sit near these planes. Honey, I used to fly them blindfolded." Evelyn didn't wait for applause. She turned her back and walked away from the stunned crowd like she hadn't just flipped their entire reality upside down. But word travels fast in a military camp, especially when humiliation is involved. By nightfall, every pilot, trainer, and ground crew member knew what had happened. But Karen wasn't finished. She couldn't stand being shown up, especially not by someone who didn't kneel before her made-up authority. That night, she made a call, not to the base commander, not to military police, to someone else, someone with no badge but plenty of attitude. The next morning, Evelyn's old pickup truck was gone. Not stolen, towed. A big yellow sticker was slapped across her windshield. "Illegally parked, vehicle impounded under base regulation 17B. But the thing was, there was no regulation 17B. Karen had made it up. "I told you," Karen said smugly when Evelyn walked back to the parking lot. "You're not above the rules just because you used to fly. This is a secure area and your presence here is over." Evelyn didn't blink. She didn't even look surprised. She just pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, and held it up. It was a video, a hidden camera feed, clearly showing Karen placing the sticker herself, laughing while directing the tow truck that she personally called in. That's trespassing, fraud, and unauthorized use of government property, Evelyn said calmly. Anything else you want to add before I forward this to base legal? Karen's face dropped. But Evelyn wasn't done. Also, she said, tilting her head, my truck isn't even registered to me. Karen blinked. What? It belongs to the Department of Defense. That's a federal vehicle. You just illegally towed government property. The silence hit like a hammer. People were watching now. 2 uniformed officers had walked over, their eyes shifting between Evelyn and Karen. Ma'am, one of them said to Evelyn, is this true? She handed over a printed document from her back pocket. Pulled this when I saw her snooping around yesterday. The officer read it, then turned to Karen. We're gonna need you to come with us. Karen panicked. Wait, no, she's lying. She's making this up. But no one was listening anymore. As Karen was walked off, Evelyn didn't smile. She just watched, quietly, and then she whispered something under her breath that only one person heard. The young pilot who had mocked her 3 days ago. You all thought I was done. You never asked why I left. The pilot swallowed hard. Why, did you? Evelyn looked him straight in the eye. Because they told me my skills were too advanced for the next gen. So I built one better. And before he could ask what that meant, a low hum filled the air. Another jet, sleeker, newer, rolled out of the hangar behind her. It had no serial number, just one word painted on the side in black. Ghost. Nobody knew where the jet came from. It wasn't listed in any logs. No maintenance crew claimed to touch it. It had just appeared, quiet, smooth, with a presence that made even the F-22s look outdated. By the time the brass showed up, full uniforms, dark shades, and clipped voices, Evelyn was already halfway through the pre-check. The same young pilot who had mocked her earlier watched from a distance, whispering to his buddy, "This is insane. That plane's not even in the system." His friend replied, "Neither is she." One of the commanders stepped forward. "Lieutenant Commander Ross, this aircraft is unauthorized for this base. We need you to stand down immediately." Evelyn didn't even turn her head. "Didn't expect to see you again, Colonel," she said, flipping a switch. The man stiffened. "You were never cleared for field return. Your contract ended with Echo 7. Evelyn finally looked at him. And Echo 7 was supposed to be shut down, but looks like someone restarted it under the table. That hit hard, because she wasn't guessing. She knew. "You've been testing new combat tech without Pentagon authorization," she continued. "Using private companies, hiding results under ghost budgets. This base? It's your playground. Now." The colonel didn't respond. He didn't have to. The entire camp was listening now. Everyone frozen. Everyone wondering if they were standing in the middle of something much bigger than they ever signed up for. "You think I just came back to fly?" Evelyn said, stepping down from the jet. "No. I came back because someone's been building war toys behind closed doors and using people like Karen to keep eyes off the wrong places." "Prove it," the colonel snapped. Evelyn pulled out a small drive from her pocket and tossed it to one of the techs nearby. "Flight data, engine logs, unauthorized IP transfers, and off-the-books budgets going to a shell company registered in Nevada. You've got 20 minutes before DC lights up." The colonel's face drained. Someone in the tower cursed under their breath. A few techs stepped back from their consoles. The young pilot muttered, "Holy hell, she's blowing the whole place open." And then came the final blow. Evelyn looked at the crowd and said clearly, "They thought I disappeared, but I've been watching, waiting, building what they said couldn't exist." She turned back to the jet. No more secrets. Then she climbed in, and before anyone could stop her, Ghost lifted off without a sound, disappearing into the clouds like it was never there. Only one message came through the base comms seconds later. A woman's voice, firm and clear. "Next. Time you kick someone out, make sure they're not the one who wrote the rulebook." The next morning, federal vehicles rolled in before sunrise. Unmarked SUVs, suits, earpieces. They didn't ask questions. They gave orders. The base was put on lockdown. Every terminal was accessed. Every flight log reviewed. And Colonel Whitmore? Gone. Just like that. Quietly escorted off base without so much as a salute. But the real storm hadn't even hit yet. Across the country, a leak exploded on the internet. Classified documents, blueprints, audio clips of meetings that were never meant to be recorded. Evelyn had been collecting everything piece by piece for years. Every shady deal, every cut corner. Every name, Karen's too. A video surfaced, grainy but clear, of Karen standing beside one of the off-book hangars, laughing about the dummy planes we show the kids while the real ones stay hidden. Her fake badge, her fake authority, her obsession with power, all of it exposed. People didn't just hate her now, they wanted answers. The story caught fire. Unknown, pilot lands. Mysterious jet exposes secret military program. Who is Evelyn Ross? Former test pilot or national threat? Ghost plane real? Experts can't identify aircraft seen in viral video. But for Evelyn, none of that mattered. She was already gone. They searched. Of course they did. Launched full investigations, set up surveillance across multiple states. But Evelyn had built the very systems they were trying to use against her. She didn't leave a trail. Back at the base, morale was wrecked. The young pilot, Jason, sat alone in the mess hall staring at the news on his phone. His fingers hovered over the replay button on that one moment when Evelyn said, "No more secrets." Something shifted in him. Later that week, he requested a transfer. Not to another squadron, to internal oversight. He said it was time someone inside started asking the questions. But the base wasn't done paying for what it had tried to hide. 3 separate lawsuits were filed against the shell companies tied to Echo 7. Contractors were arrested. A defense, budget hearing was pulled into emergency session. And in the middle of all this, one final envelope showed up at the Pentagon. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No signature, just a message, handwritten in neat block letters. ID. Didn't come back for revenge. I came back to clean up the mess you left behind. And beneath it, a photo of a young Evelyn, in full flight gear, grinning, standing next to a jet labeled Prototype 1G, Ghost. She had been there since the beginning. She never stopped watching. 3. Weeks later, somewhere deep in Arizona's Red Rock Desert, a signal lit up on an isolated radar screen. Just one blip, fast, clean, impossible to trace. The same tech that had once been top secret, now bending every rule in the book. It was Ghost. Back in the sky. No ID, no clearance. But someone was flying it. And they knew exactly where they were going. Meanwhile, Karen sat in a cold courtroom, her mouth tight, hands folded like she still had control. But the judge wasn't buying it. The evidence was too much. Security footage, testimonies, misuse of military resources, tampering with classified property, and impersonating base authority. She tried her old tricks, playing the victim, shifting blame, even throwing out Evelyn's name like it was some sort of defense. "She's not who you think she is," Karen spat. "She's dangerous. She's rogue." But the judge only raised an eyebrow. "And yet, Ms. Simmons, she never broke the law. You did." The final charge was federal. Karen's mouth fell open when she realized she wasn't going home. Outside the courtroom, reporters waited, like wolves. But Evelyn wasn't there. She hadn't shown up. No dramatic confrontation. No victory speech. She didn't need one, because her justice didn't come with cameras. It came with silence. Back on the base, the air had changed. They scrubbed every record. Pilots stopped laughing at the old-timers. Respect returned, and this time, it was quiet, deep, earned. Jason, now part of internal review, opened a sealed file that had just been cleared for his level. It was labeled Project Ghost, Echo 7, and marked with a red warning, terminated due to untraceable override protocols. Pilot authorization unknown. Jason stared at the last page. A blurry photo from a surveillance drone. The image, a jet in midair, flying at impossible altitude. No afterburn, no heat trail, just one detail standing out, painted in clean white, across the jet's wing. "We fight in silence so others never have to," Jason whispered. "She never left." And then his secure terminal lit up. Incoming encrypted message. No sender. Just one line of text. "You've seen what they hide. Now choose what you protect." Jason looked around the empty room. The buzz of fluorescent lights above him the only sound. He clicked reply. Typed just one word. Ready. Midnight. A private airstrip somewhere off the grid. No control tower. No lights. Just dust, wind, and the distant hum of something that shouldn't exist. Jason stood alone at the edge of the tarmac, his hands sweating inside regulation-issue gloves. His transfer papers had cleared with shocking speed. No briefing, no welcome. Just GPS coordinates sent through an untraceable channel and the warning. Arrive alone, no questions, no second chances. He waited. Then, just as the clock struck 12 on Nunner, the ground shook, lightly, but just enough to feel. And there it was. Ghost. It didn't land like a normal jet. It lowered, soundless, like a shadow sliding across water. The landing gear touched, the earth as if the jet weighed nothing. The hatch hissed open. Evelyn stepped out. The same denim jacket, same calm stare, like no time had passed since the day she flipped the entire base on its head. Jason's mouth went dry. "I didn't think you'd actually—" "You replied," she cut in. "That's all that mattered." He nodded, swallowing. "What is this place?" Evelyn walked past him, toward a small metal door embedded in the earth. She tapped a sequence into an old keypad. The ground rumbled, then parted slowly, revealing stairs that led deep underground. "This is what they buried," she said, "what they were afraid of." Jason followed, eyes wide as they stepped into the hidden facility. It was more than a hangar. It was a lab, a war room, a place frozen in time, filled with prototypes, unfinished tech, discarded missions too dangerous to fund. And at the center, a long glass wall lined with black and white photos, pilots, engineers, testers, all labeled, deceased, discharged, discredited. Jason pointed at the wall. "They killed this?" "They buried it," Evelyn said. "Killed some of us trying. The sea. Rest. Vanished. Like me." She turned to him. "But not all ghosts stay gone." Jason stared at the glowing screens. Code ran like rivers, aircraft specs, mission protocols, global data feeds. "This is a war room." "It's a safeguard," Evelyn corrected, "for when the wrong people get too powerful, and the right ones are forced to play dumb." Jason's voice was low. "So why me?" "Because you saw the truth and didn't look away," she said. "And because I need a second pilot." The air went still. Jason blinked. "You want me in Ghost?" "No," Evelyn said, pulling a tarp off something sleeker, darker, and somehow more advanced than anything he'd ever seen. "I built a second one. Painted on the side. Ghost 2, Shadow Protocol." Evelyn looked him in the eye. This time, "We don't expose corruption, we stop it before it starts." Jason stepped toward the jet slowly, like he was walking up to a living thing. The design didn't make sense. Too smooth, too silent, like it had been grown instead of built. The surface reflected almost nothing. Even standing inches away, his own shadow looked wrong on it. "How is this even flying?" he muttered. Evelyn smiled faintly. "It's not about how, it's about why." She walked alongside the craft, running her fingers along the hull. Ghost 2 isn't just stealth, it's predictive. It learns, thinks ahead, and scrambles recognition tech before they even lock eyes on it. Jason turned to her. "What do you want me to do with it?" She met his eyes. "There's a convoy moving through Texas next week, unmarked. They're using NGO logos, but they're shipping weapon-grade AI across state lines. Not for testing, for deployment. Civilian sectors." Jason's stomach dropped. Wait, deployment? Against who? Whoever questions the wrong person, Evelyn said coldly. They figured out the system doesn't need permission anymore, just silence. She tossed him a black flight patch, one he'd never seen in any unit. A white outline of a jet disappearing into static. No name, just 2 letters, SP. Shadow Protocol. This isn't about fighting enemies overseas anymore, she said. It's about keeping power from the people who think they're above the rules. Here. Jason looked at the patch, then the jet. Why me? He asked again, quieter this time. Evelyn's voice dropped too. Because I saw what you did after I left. You didn't chase credit. You chased the truth. That's rare now. A silence passed between them. Heavy. Real. Then a voice echoed from deeper in the bunker. Distorted. Mechanical but unmistakably human. It came from a secure speaker panel. Incoming ping. Encrypted. They found the hangar door. We've got 5 minutes. Jason's training kicked in, but his pulse jumped. Are we under attack? No, Evelyn said calmly, climbing back into Ghost. They're not that dumb. She looked down at him from the cockpit. They're here to offer us a deal. A bigger paycheck, a leash, and a locked file. Jason's fists clenched. And if we say no? Evelyn smiled. Not warm, not cold, just steady. Then we show. Then what ghosts really do. She hit a switch. Ghost 2's systems came online, lighting up with colors Jason had never seen on a military panel. No startup noise, just presence. A soft hum, more like a warning than a machine. Jason took a breath, climbed into the cockpit, and slipped on the headset. It didn't fit like standard gear. It adjusted to him.